The final whistle has gone no more than 1 second after the minimum 3 minutes of added on time. It has ended here at the London Olympic Stadium. West Ham United 1, Liverpool 3. West Ham falling to their first defeat of 2021 with a very disappointing performance given what's gone before it. The opening goal, no goals in the first half, goalless at the break, but Liverpool taking the lead in the 57th minute from Mo Salah, cutting inside and curling his effort inside the far post. Just seconds after Michail Antonio gone incredibly close to opening the scoring for West Ham, small margins and all that. Liverpool doubling their lead on 68 minutes when Salah doubling his account for the day. Fabianski, no chance as Liverpool broke from a West Ham corner, 3 touches and the ball was in the back of West Ham's net, going pretty much over then. If it wasn't then, it certainly was in the 84th minute when a 1-2 from Firmino ended up with the ball at between Firmino and Alexander-Arnold, ended up with the ball at Wijnaldum's feet, and he scored from close range to put a gloss on the score that Liverpool, for all their dominance, probably didn't really deserve to have. And West Ham getting a consolation 3 minutes later in the 87th minute, with Craig Dawson scoring his 3rd goal for the club since coming into the side a few weeks ago. To make the final score. West Ham United 1, Liverpool 3, as we were just saying there. It is West Ham's first defeat for a few weeks, Gnome. And how are you feeling right now? Really disappointed, or, is it just a question of the run had to end sometime?
Disappointed because we're better than that. And we haven't done ourselves justice. And, obviously I'll be hanging on for the Mr. Moyes thing, and I think that'll be reflected in what he says. The disappointing thing is that we could be down as far as 6th in a few hours' time, which is very disappointing given how hard we work to get to where we are. I don't think Liverpool were that good. They took 3 chances very, very well. One of which was kind of route one on the break. But the annoying thing to me is now, thankfully I've got the volume turned off, so I won't have to listen to it. But full well Sky are going to be going all over what a great performance from Liverpool. And I didn't think it was. It was, we just played into their hands. It was, and it was disappointing for that thing. Earlier on I turned on the Sky thing before the earlier game, and it was a case of everything was about how wonderful Liverpool are. We've got half an hour with Klopp, and I thought, that'd be interesting. Then if they're going to talk to Klopp, that'd be interesting. What they've got to say about us.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like watching a news item when you've got a local election coming up, and it was they had a couple of people they'll interview the main candidate or two for Mayor of London, for example, and then at the end of the slot, they'll put a whole list of names in very small print up the left-hand side, which these people are also running in the election. And that's what it felt like with this coverage. It was,
But isn't that always the way with the broadcasters?
Yeah, with Liverpool. They can do no wrong in terms of BBC and slightly lesser extent with Sky. But it is kind of depressing because we should come off there and we should think, you know what? We had a chance to do something there, and we actually didn't. And very, very disappointing. The good news is, I suppose we've got Villa, Fulham, and Sheffield United. I think are our next 3 league games.
Yeah.
So that sort of mental, perhaps inferiority complex that clearly we carried into today. Hopefully won't be around, and have a chance to sort of carry on the good work that's been done up to now. It's just such a shame, all the hard work, everything that's gone in there, and we've just kind of thrown it away because it's always Liverpool, and we believe the hype.
I it's a fair summary. I kind of disagree with you a little bit about Liverpool's performance, because I think West Ham were the form team in the Premier League going into that game, and they've effectively nullified us completely today. I'm not sure you're giving them enough credit for doing that. They didn't create an awful lot, but we are a good side and we have been playing very well, so that's perhaps understandable. But you know, we were so limited today, weren't we? I mean, 8 shots altogether, only 2 shots on target, and I don't think either of those really troubled the goalkeeper, did they at all?
I think it's we went into that mindset.
Well, apart from the goal, obviously. Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, I think so. I'm not giving them credit, but we played into their hands. We you know, we should have gone in with the, you know, like, so when we played Palace, you know, we went and tore them apart.
Yeah.
And nobody's saying we're going to tear Liverpool apart as such, but we go in and attack. We you know, sensibly attack, but we didn't. We were I wouldn't say parking the bus, but it was you know, if we can actually get the ball and then go on the break, then we might attack. And it was limited intent.
Yeah. Fair point. Yeah, that's a fair point.
That doesn't come from Liverpool stopping us. We started off, and that's why I think yeah, it's difficult to give them an awful lot of credit, because it was,
okay. Yeah. Okay, no, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. Well, I think that's a really good point, and I think that's an issue we can discuss a little bit further on. Let's get everybody's immediate summaries first of all. I do think it's a very good point, though, and as I say, we'll come back to that. Rio, West Ham United 1, Liverpool 3. The run's over. Disappointing overall.
Yeah, no, it's incredibly disappointing because of the way we applied ourselves, which everything we've done right this season, we didn't do today. We allowed Liverpool to bully us, really, and tactically outplay us. They allowed no space in between our defence and midfield. We was playing far too deep. Of all the times to produce, which I think is our worst performance since the opening day, on the back of a run where we won 6 on the bounce and we should be flying, no one turned up today. Our striker, who we've been putting so much faith in to rescue our season, and since his return, he's done a decent job. But today, his all-round play just wasn't good enough. One chance and he fluffed that, but his link-up play was pretty shocking. The attacking midfielders, I thought our best one out of the 3 was possibly Fornells, who created 2 of our brightest chances.
Yeah.
But he got hauled off, which I couldn't really understand. Ben Rama was incredibly wasteful and really didn't offer nothing. Bowen was one of his bad days at the office, because for all his energy and his work rate, his decision making and his application, his passing just wasn't there.
Yeah.
I think the only 2 players that come out of any real credit today are probably Dawson and Ogbonna. Even Kufel, I thought, had a really good first half. He wasn't afforded any kind of chance in the second.
No, that's a good point.
Jones, Milner had been pulling the strings in the first half, and really, I can understand his frustration of being hauled off. But it was a masterstroke by Klopp, wasn't it? Because as soon as Jones comes on, he kind of shrugs Declan off the ball far too easily, sets up the chance, and his energy in the midfield really caused us even more problems.
I think that's a really good observation, actually, Rio. You've pointed out there, Soufal, instrumental in the opening half, looked really strong as he has been for weeks, but completely out of the game second half. Wasn't involved at all.
Yeah, absolutely anonymous in the second half.
And you think that was to do more with the substitution?
I think Jones coming on, he changed the game completely, because his energy immediately created a goal for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Then we were chasing the game a little, and but Kufel just never got into the game in the second half. He never offered an attacking outlet down their right hand side.
Yeah. So
we lost another option there, and yeah, I said it's the worst performance since the opening day, and yeah, it's sad to see, particularly on the run we've been. It's just sad to see that we kind of surrendered this without much of a fight. Too many of our big name players did not turn up today, didn't put in the performances that we've seen. Yeah. It's a threadbare squad, as we know. It's going to catch up with us eventually. I'm just hoping that this isn't the first sign of the crack setting in.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, I know we're supposed to be fierce rivals of the likes of Millwall and Tottenham and Chelsea, but for some reason, I hate absolutely abhor losing to Liverpool Football Club. I don't know what it is, but just something about them grinds my gears more than anybody. And I really dislike losing to them.
The
There
classy
you go.
supporters who wish that their own players had broken legs, for example.
Well, you know, I that's something to do with it. Pinky Rio says it's the worst performance since the opening day against Newcastle. Do you go along with that?
Yeah, I think so. If we're being honest, we never looked like winning today. Not for a single moment did we look like we were going to win that game today. Probably the game where most of our players contributed almost nothing. You know, certainly nothing positively. So you might get away with one or two players not really being at it, but when you've got 6 or 7 who just on the day haven't done anything, you're not going to get away with it, and certainly not against Liverpool.
Yeah.
You know, it was the second goal that in particular I was disappointed with. You know, the shocking corner that we put in, they cleared it far too easily. 2 passes led to their score. There's something wrong with our basic defensive organisation as a team, if that's what's going on. So I'd like to see that again and just see exactly who wasn't where they should have been. I can't help but feel part of it is the players are looking around the dressing room going, well, it's just us, is it? You know, well, fix bayonets, please, lads, because, you know, it's us against the world. You know, I can't help but feel that's got a bit of an impact on the players who are going. So between now and the end of the season, this is it.
Yeah.
This is all we've got, and whether that causes players to just take the foot off the gas a bit because they're demotivated, or they take the foot off the gas a bit because they know that they're not getting dropped. I mean, Antonio's work rate in the first half wasn't enough, and if we were a club that had other options, you know, Antonio would have been hooked at half time, but the manager simply doesn't have that option, so he stays on. Yeah, and it tells a player that a subpar performance is okay because you're not going to get dropped or hooked or whatever it may be. And I'm not saying that Antonio was mucking around or not trying.
Yeah.
He just wasn't at it today in the way that we've seen him be at it in other games. And this is the problem that our chairman does not seem to understand, that at this level of elite sport, you've got to be focused every single game for every single minute to beat the opposition, especially if it's someone like Liverpool. You know, it's fine margins, and you don't reinforce in the window. In fact, you actually reduce your squad. This is what you get. And yeah, we're lucky. Villa, Fulham, and Sheffield United up next. So hopefully the rot won't set in too deep. But you know, Jurgen Klopp could start today with Roberto Firmino on the bench. That's a weakened Liverpool team, and Firmino starts on the bench today. There you go. So that's weakened Liverpool, and full strength West Ham. We had Odobiko on the bench.
Yeah. Do you kind of feel that, you know, we sort of spoke before the game and we were all quite excited because Liverpool missing all these defenders and we're playing Henderson, for example, at centre half. We never really tested them today, did we, at all? And even in the opportunities that we had, we didn't really put them under pressure.
No, and again, perhaps Jurgen Klopp's game plan was better than David Moyes' today. You know, if we're being honest, Klopp obviously had the advantage of knowing exactly who his starting 11 were going to be, you know, several days ago, whereas Moyes has to wait for an hour before kickoff. But you know, we've seen their one real danger man up top that they started with, say, Salah, bag a couple of goals. We've seen Shaqiri, who I said, well, you know, he's a showreel player. Yeah, okay. One pass today. There you go. I'm going to put this 45-yard pass right onto Salah's left peg. He'll control it, or right peg. He'll control it with that, then finish it with his left. So Shaqiri earned his pay today with one single pass. Moment of class. But that's all he did. But it was enough. Who in our team actually did that moment of class today? Where was our sort of like what they're saying test match special, the champagne moment? You know, Dawson bundling one in from close range. I'm not so sure. For me, the moment of the game was the Declan Rice reducer on Henderson. Yeah, but you know, but we need to see. I'm not saying half a dozen tackles like that again that get bookings, but you know, if that had happened in the first 3 or 4 minutes, we might have seen a different outcome today. You know, we weren't aggressive enough today. We weren't positive enough.
Mm-hmm.
Our link-up play was poor. You know, Ben Rama didn't influence the game sufficient today, and he wasn't alone in that. You know, I don't think Fornals was great today. And I just think there's a risk of running out of legs.
It's a hard game to pick a man of the match from today, isn't it? When you look back at that.
Absolutely, and it would come from either Dawson or Ogbonna, and I'd probably go with Dawson. I'd probably say Dawson again, an on-loan player from a championship club. There you go.
I agree. I agree. I mean, you can't really consider anyone else because, as you pointed out rightly, there wasn't really anybody else involved to such a degree where it would have been worth giving them such an award. Just didn't happen today. One of those games.
One of those, and since we've got Carlton Cole on the telly, just in case my mate Richie's watching, I'll just remind you, Richie, that Carlton scored more goals for West Ham United than Frank McAvaney. And that is Richie just chucked his beer can at the telly if he is tuning in. So that's the one stat that winds him up. So there you go.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when we were at the old stadium, the guy I used to sit next to, very, very placid guy, used to attend with his wife. We used to sit there and talk about football, all the old days and stuff, and reminisce. And he absolutely hated Carlton Cole. I mean, I've never seen anyone get so animated as this guy did when Carlton Cole was brought on, or even, you know, worse in his eyes, started in a game. He absolutely couldn't stand him at all. It's the only time he got really, really animated. Ray, if you're out there, hope you guys are doing well, and all the best to you.
Well, just on that, Graham, I happen to know someone who has some commercial dealings with West Ham United, and he has to come into contact with Carlton Cole rather a lot these days, and always tells Carlton what a great player he thought Carlton was. Well, that must be a different bloke to the one I've stood next to for 20 seasons, and you know,
it's always the way, isn't it?
Yeah, but I won't bubble you, mate. If you're watching, I won't name and shame.
There you go. Carlton Cole, of course, in the news this week. Some people felt he was kind of unfairly used by TalkSport to deliver a kind of pro-board agenda by the station, but maybe we'll get onto that at some point if we have time. I do want to come back now to the point that Gnome was touched upon with regards to West Ham's attitude to this game today. At no point really did West Ham look as if we were prepared to take the match by the scruff of the neck and really go at Liverpool. And you know, we sort of asked, did we sit back too much, or is that just David Moyes in a nutshell against teams that he perceives to be of a greater quality and bigger in stature? Does he just revert to, you know, plan A and sit back and try and soak up the pressure? And, you know, sometimes it works, but is it just a case of it not working today?
There's a different question to that, really. It's was this the right day to play that way? I mean, yeah, I know we've seen it in the past, but when we've kind of used that tactic or whatever you want to call it in the past, it has been a bit in the past where we've not been playing well, and it's a case of, I mean, if you look at the end of last season, for example, it was a case of, okay, well, these games we'll try and make it difficult for them, see what we can get out of it, and we'll go a bit more gung ho, if you like. Get some likes of Norwich and things like that. Well, yeah, I'm saying a team that has won 4 on the trot in the league and 6 in all games should be looking at the opposition and thinking, well, this isn't Man City, this is Liverpool. Liverpool won't win the league this year. And and it's, well, you know, look at the table. at that point, would they have 1-2 points more than us before kick-off? And we were above them until, Tottenham decided to throw in the towel the other night. Maybe I'm being unrealistic, but I thought that I still think we showed them far too much respect, and we allowed them to do. I mean, look, just showing that last goal again, it was just we just stood and watched that, and that was the bad old days of last season, where if somebody ran at us, and played it in between us, we'd just watch the passes, and nobody would take responsibility and try and put a tackle in.
So is that down to the players, the way they performed on the day, or is that a fundamental flaw perhaps in Moyes' psyche in terms of the way he approaches the matches?
Well, we don't know what he told them. If he told them to do that, then it's down to Moyes. If it's a case of out you go, look, I don't want to see you sitting back like that. I want to see you trying to take the game to them, and they didn't do it, then it's the players. We didn't look like we thought we could get a result today, where in fact we could have. Okay. And that's the thing. And if you go out there, you don't think you can get it. It's not going to happen. Bear with me a second. My battery's about to go, so I've got to plug in the charger.
Okay, no worries. Well, I'll go to Rio on the same point. I mean, Rio, we know it's not David Moyes' fault ultimately. We know that, he's working under severe constraints and that he's working with a tiny squad, a squad that doesn't have a natural striker. The only striker we have in the squad is a converted winger who was a converted fullback in a sense, or a wing back. But do you feel that this one's on Moyes rather than the players?
I think there's a big element of that. Let's be honest, we're not in a relegation battle, are we? Well, we have to be cautious. We have to be more measured in our approach. And after our performances, particularly on Tuesday, where despite the early setback, we played free-flowing, attacking, confident football for nearly 90 minutes. And we absolutely battered a fellow Premiership side. Traditionally, over the last few years, we've struggled against. Yeah. But we made them look absolutely stupid the other night. You would have thought, with a little bit more carte blanche to play, a little bit more freedom, he would have said, go out there, express yourself. Make Liverpool have problems. Don't sit back and respect them. Don't sit back and give what is the reigning Premiership champions too much time. Get out there, impose yourself, make them think, make them work. And we've done the complete opposite. The team that went out today was exactly the same starting 11 as it was Tuesday. But in terms of mentality, approach, and seemingly confidence, we weren't even at the races today. It looked like a completely different side. And that's my worry. I mean, I can understand that he doesn't want to shed points, but today was a good opportunity to be a slightly weaker Liverpool team, cause them problems in defence where they're playing with a midfielder and someone who's barely played 10 games for the Liverpool. It's a chance to impose yourself. It's a chance to make a name for yourselves. Get out there, cause them problems, Instead, we kind of shrink back into ourselves, and it was a safety first approach. And I just completely think that in our situation where we should be pushing on, where the players are full of confidence, let them go out there, let them play their natural game, let them express themselves.
So do you think that's down to the players, or do you think that's Moyes tactically then who's saying, we want to hold you back a little?
I think it's Moyes today, to be honest.
Okay.
Because that's what we saw when we was in the relegation battle last season. That's what we saw at the start of this season, when we were kind of trying to eke out points rather than go on the front foot and attack.
Well, we also saw it, didn't we, against Chelsea? I think it was the same. And but Manchester United was a different story. I'm kind of looking along thinking about the possibility that any club that Moyes perceives to be better technically than West Ham, he kind of falls back into that naturally defensive position. But you couldn't say that, could you? Because against Manchester United, we did exactly what you've just said there, didn't we? We went at them from the off. We went into the break 1-0 up. It could have been 3 or 4. We were so impressive in that first half. Okay, it all fell apart in the second half, but No, you can't say that, can you? So it's not every team that he's done that against. So I guess that makes it even more unfathomable why we played that way today.
Yeah, and particularly, as I said, because we're not in the position now where we have to scrap for points, where we have to go, oh, we've got to watch our backs because we could get relegated here. That's not going to happen this season. So the opportunity was there for let the players go out and do what they did against Manchester United. Take that approach. Take the game to them. Today, it looked like we regressed a few months. And I could get it at the start of his tenure when we were trying to stay up. We're trying to preserve our Premiership status because the financial outcomes of going down are enormous. At the moment, as Pinky said earlier, we're probably budgeted for 17th place. There is no way in the world we're going to finish that low. So anything this season is a bonus. So go out there, play for the points, go on the front foot, attack. Let's make a name for ourselves, you know? We've been getting lots of plaudits in the press on television for the last week after the way that we played over this month and the impressive performance from Tuesday night. And today they're probably sitting there laughing at us, going, "Oh, it's a waste of airtime. It's a waste of ink." You know, they've made us look mugs, and I think that's how I feel. I think we've made a mug of ourselves today. I'll give Liverpool credit because tactically they got it spot on. They didn't allow us to play that expensive game as much as we wanted to, but our setup was completely wrong. We didn't try and counter that. We just sat back and let them do it to us and let them bully us tactically.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. I can see you're nearly as disappointed as I am, just by listening to you. Pinky, I mean, Rio said it there. Liverpool got it tactically spot on today. Klopp, as always, very precise in the way he puts out a team and sets his sides up tactically, and we've seen evidence of that again today. Are we being too harsh on David Moyes here, and perhaps not giving Klopp and Liverpool enough credit for the way they've played here?
Yeah, perhaps, and you know, another factor that probably hurt us in the second half. Our two main guys in midfield both were sat on yellow cards, and you know, playing Liverpool with 11 players is hard. Try it with 10, you know. So they'd have been fully aware. So they were both kind of neutralised physically after each got the yellow card that they did. But I think overall, for my money today, it was the second goal that killed us, and perhaps this is where we're not giving Liverpool enough credit.
Yeah,
because if I live to be 100, I'm not seeing Shaqiri put another first-time pass that distance so accurately for Mo Salah to pull down with his right peg and finish with the outside of his left. It was a brilliant goal by Liverpool. You know, if we'd scored that goal, we would be banging on about it for months.
Well, I think we were. Well, it reminded me in a sense of the Yarmolenko goal against Chelsea last year, and we
there you go.
Made the most of that, didn't we?
So ultimately, 5 seconds of brilliance following 2 seconds of poor play by us, i.e. the bad corner. You know, let's not forget, we were attacking. We had the corner. A defensive header cleared it. A pass then out to Shaqiri, who hits the ball first time, pretty much, onto Salah. Thank you. You know, outstanding stuff. And that's ultimately what did us. The second goal killed us, stone dead. And you say heads may have dropped a bit, but before the first goal, you know, we were saying Antonio should have scored when he turned and got a shot off and he just put it wide.
Yep.
Had he scored at that point, had that gone in and we'd been a goal up, it's a different game. It's a different conversation. So for me, Moyes has been a little bit more cautious today, but our main guy up top did not play well. And today a little bit, we've been... I hesitate to criticise Antonio because I think he's done brilliantly for us this season, bearing in mind his limitations. But when you look at it the cold light of day, he does have those limitations. You know, Salah today, 2 chances, took them both. Antonio today, no. His biggest contribution today was Antonio actually putting the best cross of the afternoon for us.
Yeah.
From the left-hand side. And of course, he put the ball exactly where he would have wanted to receive it. Yeah. But of course, he then realizes, well, I was crossing it to me, but I've just crossed it, kind of thing. And it's that kind of thing that we can't blame the manager for.
Yeah.
So I think it's a combination for my money, really. One moment of brilliance by Liverpool, a couple of moments of below average play by our guys, and a generally subdued performance all round. I wouldn't cane Moyes too much, but I'd cane the chairman an awful lot more, because I really think the big thing today is they're just looking there going, we're nearly out of bullets, lads, and there's nothing else coming. And it's that simple.
Yeah, I guess it was one of those days. Let's not forget we're playing one of the best club sides in the world still, regardless of the fact that they had a couple of players out. You need everything to go in your favour, the stars to align. You need all your players, at their best. The manager to be, on his game as well to get a positive result in a game like that. And unfortunately, none of that really happened today, did it? It was just one of those things.
And we've seen Trent Alexander-Arnold have a bit of a return to form today. Robertson on the other side. These are fullbacks who, throughout all of last season, were getting rave reviews from every pundit, every journo, every football fan up and down the land. So when we talk about a weakened Liverpool team, they're short a centre back, but do you know what? We all said Phillips at half time was the player of the first half.
Yeah,
so
no doubt.
So you're saying is Henderson's the weak link there? And we're saying, okay, he's got no Mane up top, but the rest of the weak team, do you know what? We've gone half a season before now having more than just a couple of players out. You know what I mean? It's a weak team when he's got the world's best goalkeeper between the sticks.
Yeah.
Two of the world's best fullbacks on the pitch, one of the world's best strikers on the pitch with pace to burn. A creative player in Shaqiri. Oh yeah, the England player, Jordan Henderson on the pitch. Oh yeah, they were down to bare bones, weren't they? When we're talking about a weakened Liverpool team, it's the relative sense. They could be stronger and normally are, but we're not talking about relegation candidates.
Yeah. I think what I'm getting from all this is just everybody's disappointment, because we all went into this game, didn't we, Gnome, so confident of not necessarily winning, but putting on a decent performance against a top class side. This is a West Ham team that finally, after years perhaps, was in a position to be able to compete. And I get from all of us that we just didn't really do ourselves justice today. And has David Moyes been out yet? No, has he been out to speak? I saw Klopp come out, but
Klopp, I did write a few things down of what Klopp said, but it basically consisted of the interviewer telling him how wonderful he was. So we won't bother with that.
Okay, Moyes, nothing from Moyes yet.
But as is the usual thing with anything to do with Sky, they had Klopp. They had time to do Klopp. They'd interviewed Moyes, but they decided not to show it. So we've had to change channel to the Sky Sports News channel. So I'm just waiting for it to come up on that, and it's it's one of those things. We've got adverts, we've got all sorts of other bits and pieces going across the ticker at the moment. So as soon as it comes on, I'll give you what Moyes has said. They promised the end of the program on Sky Sports 1. They said that there would be interviews with Rice and Moyes, which suggested they already had them in the can, so to speak. But of course, that's got to take second fiddle to telling Klopp how wonderful he was and what a great substitution. And something
we're not bitter. We're not bitter here at all.
Yeah, these kids or something. Oh, it's terrible, isn't it? Who was interviewed him a few weeks back when he was moaning about not getting time off, and the interviewer sort of wasn't having any of it and told him a few stats and saying you've got more rest than everybody else, and it's the same for everyone else, and you're taking the money.
That was Kelly, wasn't it?
Was
Wasn't
money
it Des
fragging these
Kelly?
fixtures. And I can't remember who it was now, but it was brilliant. And that's what I want to say. It's so depressing seeing interviewers sort of pussyfooting around. Why not go for it? Say what you mean. It's I mean, you probably wouldn't last very long, would you? I suppose. Yeah, you wouldn't. You turn up for the next match and there'd be an instruction. You wouldn't have a press pass, and to get in. But it was hilarious. It was great watching, and there should be more of that.
Yeah, I think sycophancy definitely seems to be quite high on the list of requirements for some of these journalists. Was it not Des Kelly? No.
Well, it was. I think it was. You're right there. Yeah.
Okay.
And have you seen him since?
That's a very good point. I think he's.
I mean, if there's a new road being built in Liverpool somewhere, is he propping up a flyover somewhere?
Yeah, I was just going to say the Scouse equivalent of the Canning Town flyover. Who knows? We'll come back to that in a minute. Keep an eye on that for us, if you will. Then
we'll do,
hopefully we'll get something from David Moyes before we call it a day, which is going to be fairly shortly. There's a couple of things I want to go through first of all. One of the things I want to go through, of course, are the views from the respective fan bases. Rio. Pinky said that he wouldn't cane David Moyes too much following today's defeat. I'm not so sure that's going to be a sentiment echoed by some of our fellow fans on the KUMB.com forum match thread right now.
Yeah, there's a bit of a mixture. There's some protection of him, some being pragmatic and realistic about our proposition at the moment. Some give him a lot of stick. There's a few comments just coming through. Profit margin will put irritated by the match winning second because the fine margin basis. We didn't deserve to be scored like that. It's funny, really. We're all buoyed by the no-show of Mane and Firmino, but it was a league top scorer who put us to the sword anyway. For me, it's operation onwards and upwards. No looking back. Unbeaten at Villa Park, any kind of result at Fulham, and this time we just chalk up to experience. We're still doing brilliantly. Ding put, we need to be good to beat this lot, but instead we were woeful. Liverpool was incredibly good. We didn't have the belief. We didn't deserve anything. Let's just move on. Wayne Pin has put positives were, we're not complaining about VAR, the ref, or about their cheating as usual. The press by their forwards left us with either Dawson or the keeper hoofing the ball up to an isolated Antonio, and we lost the ball. They played through us again. It seems Klopp got his tactics spot on, and we were overrunning midfield and the defence had no time on the ball. This then means that Bowen, the 4 hours, Benrahma, Antonio never got into the game properly. Hopefully this is a one-off, as I'm sure Villa will be licking the lips watching us today and playing into the same system. A very good post by Danny Boy DGL. Having Dawson, Ogbon and Cresswell starts to hurt when you play against a team we place. Same reason Rashford constantly kept getting in behind us. They are good defenders, but a simple long ball leads to chance after chance against them. We really suffer by being pressed as well. Usually when we can't pass out, we relieve pressure by playing it back to the centre-backs and then teams back off. But today they didn't, they just kept on pressing. We aren't good enough to compete with the better teams. Our record this year shows it. We are well organised, but when it comes to the better teams, we start to lose individual battles because they are better physically. Coops put, I thought the lads looked very nervy from the start. We were far too deep and we weren't pressing them in their own half. Liverpool have quality all over the park, but also they have the belief that only the top teams really have. Our belief was lacking tonight. I don't think we should be too hard on Moyes or the team. What we have achieved this season has been amazing. Wednesday is massive for us though. If we can bounce back against Villa, that will say much more about where we are than tonight's game. So there's a lot of kind of balanced opinions coming through. I think people are realising that despite the fact that it was a so-called weak Liverpool side, and we could have exploited a little bit more than we did, there are still positives to take. We've got to look at the bigger picture, where we are in the league, how far we've come under the Moyes journey so far.
Okay, good stuff. Well, as always, Rio, thank you for summarising the opinion and the moods on the KUMB.com forum match thread. I'm sure there'll be much more to come in terms of what's happened today on there. So dive in if you haven't already done so and see what people are saying and let us know what you think about the game yourself. Of course, you can also use the YouTube live chat to let us know what you thought. We're reading a few of your comments out in a few moments. Of course, don't forget, if you've enjoyed what you've seen here today and enjoy these streams, give us a little like. There's a thumbs up button just down there somewhere. Give it a little flick if you can with your keyboard or your finger if you're using your mobile phones, just to let us know that you enjoy what we're doing. Let's have a quick look at the Liverpool Forum before we move on. Pinky has kindly been keeping an eye on red and white cop for us this afternoon, bar the odd strange statements such as wishing a broken leg on their main striker. What else have the Scouts has been saying, Pinky?
And to be fair to the rest of the posters on that particular website, they've called that individual out and said, you know, what kind of low-life scum are you? And I'll make them absolutely right on that. But over in red and white cop, you've got a poster called God's Left Boot, who's saying 3 absolute gems for our goals. Great individual play, lethal counter, beautiful intricate build-up. Really did it. So you can't really argue that. What else we've got here? Yeah, thought Nat had a good game and Jones was a game changer when he came on. Exactly what Rio had pointed out. Pleased that Alexander-Arnold and Bobby played well after the stick they've taken on here, and love the Klopp and Milner reaction at his substitution, because Milner clearly wasn't happy when he got taken off. Of course, instantly Liverpool score, then suddenly him and Klopp are hugging and kissing, so to speak. Well, I guess they're like that on Merseyside. I mean, in fairness to both red and white cop and LFC Reds, they're focusing purely on the Liverpool performance, barely a word about West Ham United. So, it's I think you'll have fairly slim pickings for the opposition view this week somehow.
I might even give it a miss after what we've seen today. But a couple of thank you, Pinky, for keeping an eye on those for us this afternoon and throughout the game. A couple of comments coming in on the live chat on YouTube. Hobo says we just haven't got the players against the top sides. No matter how much we like them, Antonio, Bowen, and Ben Rama lose the ball too frequently and too easily. Sam K saying that Moyes says he wants to go for the red ball model, but yet brings a past it Mark Noble off the bench when the game is already over, and leaves young Meepo on the bench. Obviously not happy with that one. Steve Page says that this game felt a bit like the 2-0 defeat against Chelsea in Christmas 2014. We played well and were on a bit of a run, then put out a performance that was almost apologetic. And we lost the game before it started. It kind of felt a little bit like that, didn't it, today, Steve? Definitely a very valid point, I think. We're coming close to the end of this afternoon's streams. Finished West Ham United 1, Liverpool 3, West Ham's first defeat of 2021, and following 6 consecutive wins. Gnome, have we had anything from Moisey yet down there?
I think it's going to be in the next few minutes. They're showing the goals on Sky Sports News now.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what we'll do.
And they're probably going to go back to the original interview with Klopp, and then they'll cut back to that. It's just coming up. They've got Klopp on now.
Okay, well, let me ask you quickly then, if I may, about the next thing I wanted to touch on, and if it goes to Moyes, we can move on to somebody else. I wanted to touch on the transfer window. Of course, as we all know, the winter transfer window closes Monday night, 11 p.m. West Ham, David Moyes has said that he does have money to spend, or David Sullivan has intimated that we have money to spend, and David Moyes seems to think that there isn't likely to be anyone else coming in. What do you think about that? Do you think there's any likelihood of that elusive striker maybe joining the squad?
I'd be very surprised. The Lingard's wages are going to be aren't going to be tuppence halfpenny because where he's come from. We just go back to that another one of those how wonderful are you interviews with Jim White back in earlier on in the season when we sold Diangana, and Sullivan came on and said, we had 8 wingers or 7 wingers on the books or something. Yeah. So what happens? Diangana goes. We bring in Ben Rama and Lingard. So now we've got 8. So you can never have enough wingers, but we've got no strikers. And Antonio, bless him, he's worked his socks off. He's been absolutely superb in what he's done. But today was one of those days where you saw a converted winger playing up front. And it's sometimes he looks the part, but today it was a converted winger, and it's most. I mean, people are just saying the Liverpool lot. They were saying how great Alexander Arnold played today, and I thought, well, when he was tested, he looked terrible, but we didn't test him enough. And a couple of times, Ben Rama almost had him a couple of times late on.
Yeah.
And when Antonio had him, it was he was terrified. So striker coming in, I'd love one. Proper striker. Can I see it? I don't know. Can't see it happening. David Sullivan says there's money to spend. Well, why aren't they actively looking? If Moyes doesn't think that there is, and he says that there is. Can't both be right.
Okay. Thank you. No, Rio, do you go along with Gnome? I mean, it seems bizarre to me that any team could only have one dedicated striker on the books in Seb Haller, sell him at the beginning of the transfer window and not replace him. But is this what West Ham are about to do?
It looks very much that way. And then the other club, I'd say I'm surprised, but not us. We all know that our transfer policy has been a bit of a shambles from year to year under our ownership at the moment. It's always papering over cracks one year. And when you realise you have a deficiency in one position, you overstock. So I'm fully expecting us in the summer window to sign 8 strikers and not strengthen anywhere else, because that's what we do. We always overstock in the positions we were deficient the year before. We haven't got a cohesive transfer policy. And with the lack of funds available, I just can't see anything changing in the current future. I certainly can't see a striker coming in. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I just really, really can't see it. Again, like I said about the Lingard thing, I mean, I couldn't understand the signing in the first place. He's not someone I wanted, but you've got to trust Moyes because his record in the transfer market has been exceptional for us. But I just couldn't understand the mentality about bringing in another attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
When we're clearly short of a left back, we're clearly short of covering central midfield. As for up front, we're at least 3 bodies short, in my opinion. So it just doesn't make sense. Our entire transfer policy under the current ownership has not made sense since they come into the club.
Okay. Pretty damning stuff from Rio there. But this is where we are. Yet another attacking midfielder coming in on loan, Pinky, in the shape of Jesse Lingard. We obviously wish Jesse all the very best in a West Ham shirt and hope he goes on to be a huge success. But no goal scorer. And do you buy the line that David Moyes does have money to spend, but doesn't want to spend it because he wants to wait for the summer? Do you think that's feasible? Likely?
Yeah, I do. One thing we've seen from Moyes, Moyes version 2, is when he says, I want that player, he wants that player. He doesn't want a player. Yep. He doesn't want someone that can do a job. He doesn't want any one of the 3. It's that player. And, where he's spent money, Kufal, Souček, Bowen, he's been proved right. Absolutely right. I'm actually comfortable waiting till the summer if that is the coherent plan that the manager and the chairman are going with between them. So both statements could be true. Okay. There is money to spend, but there isn't enough money to spend right now, because let's say there's 10 million quid in the kitty now. To get a striker who's going to score you some goals, let's say 13 goals in a season in the Premier League. That's 50 million quid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will be the entire summer budget plus whatever we've got in January. Yeah. So we're going to get to spend it once, but if we spend it once on the right caliber of player and the player we really want, then I've got no problem waiting another 20 games for that person to arrive. I've been saying for a while I thought Giroud would arrive on loan this window. He still might. It wouldn't necessarily surprise me. You know, so I think that's a possibility. There was talk of actually Chelsea even releasing Giroud as a goodwill gesture.
Yeah.
Maybe with the new manager, who knows? He'll have his own ideas, but I certainly think I'd rather wait and get the right player than any old player, because we've committed to spending £30 million on Ben Rama. Wasn't great today. The other night, most people gave him rave reviews. So are we going to write him off? No, I don't think so. We give him time to adjust and all the rest of it. But we need that focal point in the attack. We need someone that can drag defenders left and right, run all night, do all those things. And then when they get the chance, you know, they don't miss it. And we saw today, you know, okay, Mane's out, but Firmino, their manager, chose to leave him out. Yeah, that was a choice that they made. Most of the clubs at the top end of the table have got a couple of choices.
Yeah.
We've seen today Leicester City go down. I don't think Vardy played today, did he? So they haven't got the right calibre of replacement for Vardy. So it isn't easy getting the strikers, the ones that really make the difference, and they're not cheap. So I'd rather we say, we'll build a nice little kitty, go and get the player the manager really wants in the summer, and then go again next year. It's disappointing because we've done well this season, but I don't want another player coming in who isn't quite good enough. You know, if we're going to spend a fee on a player, get the right player. I've got no problem with someone coming in on a freebie, just giving them wages, but the transfer fee kitty, have a proper kitty, have a proper pot, and say, player X, he's who I want, go get him.
He's the one. Yeah. Okay. I just want to point out, of course, that Leicester's backup to Vardy is Iheanacho, who is a player that I believe cost them in excess of £20 million when they bought him in from Man City. So, you know, there is a little bit of a difference there. But yeah, I mean, the point you're making is a valid one, of course. He's not quite.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A first team starter as a striker, it's 50 million quid.
Yeah.
You know, it's we talk about £20 million players as if they are magic. For a player that's playing up top, £20 million is getting you nothing. Look what Arsenal have been spending on strikers in recent years.
Yep. Everton too. Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
Madness.
and maybe as we as supporters need to understand, 20 million quid isn't a whole hill of beans for a striker. You know, it starts at 50 million and goes north. Liverpool today, what do they spend on a goalkeeper? Was it 70 million?
72 million, something crazy, wasn't it? Madness, absolute madness. Yeah, but there it is. That is, of course, the difference between us and them. And no, we were full of hope at the start of the game. It's not worked out, and we're all quite despondent now. But anyway, we move on, and hopefully it is just a blip for West Ham United. Gnome, I'm guessing we've still got nothing from Mr. Moyes.
We had the Klopp interview in all its stomach-churning, sycophantic glory, and they then went on to interview Mourinho, whose game hasn't even happened yet, and now we've got an advert. Somebody tried to sell me free mortgage advice at the moment with some swans, and there's a very weird advert on now, which I'm sure that was just Diet Coke I was drinking. It's for yogurts. Okay.
No, listen, I've got to point this out, no, because I have, it's been bothering me all afternoon. You've got a different camera angle today for the first time.
I've got a different table. I've been doing some stuff around the house, and I've got a different table. And so I also have moved the laptop from the kitchen table over here for the time being, because it's over there during the week for weekdays for work. So I leave it over there. So laptop there, camera there, and there's a gap in between, so I can see the telly. So yeah,
there you go. There it is. In case anyone else was wondering, like myself, Gnome has been doing his domestic chores over the last few days. But no, it's we normally get the stairs and the CD rack, don't we? But we've got
the CD rack is when I'm sat at the kitchen table, because
right.
it's kind of I've got an all-in-one sort of general living area, if you like. So kitchen table, CD rack, telly, bookcase.
Well, it's just grand designs now.
Well, I don't bring it up.
Have I drifted onto the wrong show?
Just seen Dion Dublin walking in the background there. Yeah.
They brought it up, so no. You get the CD rack when I'm watching a match on the laptop. So I have to sit over there because that's where the laptop usually is. But when it's the telly's there, and I've got 2 Wharfdales, 2 surround Wharfdales, centre speaker, subwoofer. And my neighbours absolutely hate me. So,
well, there you go. I bet you didn't think you were going to be getting a tour of the Gnome homestead this afternoon, but there it is.
More interesting than what Klopp had to say. Anyway.
That is just about it for this afternoon's stream. So thank you to everybody for joining us. And as I said, if you haven't already done so, if you can give us a little click on the thumbs up just underneath the stream there, that helps us out. I'm not quite sure how actually, but I'm told it does. Anyway, one more thing I want to touch on before we go, gentlemen. Games coming thick and fast. As we've been saying for a few weeks this season.
Tell me about it.
As Naomi's aware, having to write some editorial for the site. It's only 4 days until we travel to the Midlands for our next Premier League encounter against Aston Villa. Villa, of course, a side that have been doing pretty well this year for a team that shouldn't really, by rights, have been in the Premier League at all this season. They, of course, put 7 past West Ham's opponents this afternoon earlier in the season in probably not just the freak result of the season, but the freak result of the century. And the last one as well, probably, when they beat Liverpool 7-2. West Ham have to go there and need to bounce back, don't we, Rio, when we go up there on Wednesday? How do you see that one going? Do you think this is going to be a really tough game for the Hammers?
I think it will be now. I think all the confidence that we had beforehand, all the momentum we built up has just evaporated overnight. So we've got to regroup. I think there'll be some stern words on the training ground over the next couple of days, and rightfully so. This is going to be a lot about our mentality rather than our ability, I think. Mm-hmm. The way we bounce back from today's game after being on such a great run, it's going to speak volumes to the coaching staff to get the players back on track, back focused, and get that confidence flowing through, because it looked like before today, everyone was on the same page. Everyone was happy. Everyone was excited by the way that the club were playing and we were approaching games. Today, we took a massive step back. So I just hope that Moyes, Irving, Nolan, Pearce, they grabbed the players together and just reinforced the things that we've been doing so well over the last month. Today was a massive setback. Let's move on from it. Let's just hope the coaching staff can get that message through.
Yes, let's hope they can. And it's a really, really important game now for West Ham. Of course, that one on Wednesday, isn't it, Pinky? It's a really tough one. We need to, as I said, if we want to keep, fighting for a European spot. It's a game we've got to go and get something from at least.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 3 league games on the spin that you say, do you know what? You'd want at least 7 points from 9 from those games, the next 3 league games. Yeah. Not least because if you look at the 4 following league matches, there's some pretty tough games afterwards. So if you don't get the points now, getting them in a month's time is going to be a whole lot harder. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we've got to go to Villa Park. They're a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team this season, Aston Villa. Yeah. Early doors, they were showing great form, but actually in recent times, I think they've picked up the win this weekend, but in recent times, they've not been all that. And I think, we've got a decent chance as long as we can get the team playing more like we did against Crystal Palace than we did against Liverpool, and that's about being positive. Villa have got one or two players who I quite like. I think McGinn I'd take all day long from them. I really would. So they're not mugs, but I just get a feeling that they've gone off the boil. Really, we've gone off the boil now, and that's probably going to end in a draw. There you go. I'll call a draw for the Wednesday night.
Rio, I get the feeling Villa might think they owe us one after what happened earlier in the season. We of course beat them 2-1, but given or excluding perhaps Newcastle and what we've seen today, I've got that up there as one of our weakest performances of the season so far. And how we ended up with 3 points from that game is anyone's guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a shocker. But, I mean, as I just said, it's all about mentality for us. I just hope that the amount of games we've played so far with such a small squad hasn't resulted in tired legs, because tired legs also creates tired minds. And when you get the combination of both, you start to struggle. I think Villa will expect probably to be favourites. But if we can regroup properly, I see no reason why we shouldn't win. I don't think it's going to be a classic.
Yeah,
I think it'll be a scrappy 1-0 win either way. But I'm hopeful that we can be ones who are victorious. I expect a much bigger performances from at least 5 or 6 of our players, particularly in the attacking department. So I'm hoping that today's defeat spurs them on rather than kind of knocks them back.
Yeah, you kind of hope that West Ham are a little bit hurt by what's happened today. And as Rio says, it can spur them on to greater things on Wednesday night at Villa Park. I do believe, we might have something from David Moyes at long last. Is that right?
I've got a couple of lines from BBC Sport. I haven't actually had the video stuff.
Well, let's end with that.
Just said it was tight. We found it hard against Liverpool. We were better in the first half, but didn't show enough composure at times against a really good side. We've been in good form. We came into the game with a lot of confidence. That's the difference at this level, and it shows. We're trying to catch a few teams up, not Liverpool, that's for sure. Players have been excellent. Even today, it's a lesson for them. The levels we have to get to. We didn't do the things we usually do well today. That smacks of we're trying to catch a few teams up, not Liverpool, that's for sure. That's where the lack of ambition is. Why shouldn't we be trying to catch Liverpool up?
Yeah.
It's because it's Liverpool. Yeah, it's the BBC and Sky induced hype. That there's something special. I mean, in between thing, they've just Sky have just said, "Oh, we've got a big documentary that available now on Liverpool." They've won the league once in 30 years. They're not that special. Much as they're only special because Sky and BBC are telling you so. If anybody else, it's you've only won the league once in 30 years. Leicester have only won it. Have won it the same amount of times in the same thing. That's why isn't there such a buzz about them? So, inferiority complex we went at that game with, and that's and if you go into games like that, talking of Villa on Wednesday is Wednesday, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Wednesday. It's a case of he's got to turn on that swagger, that confidence that we had for Palace and we've had in recent weeks. And he's got to be able to turn that back on. Pinky said Leicester have had they've been a little bit bumpy. They've not been helped by the fact that they had 2 games off postponed because of COVID. So they're a couple of games behind the thing anyway. So I thought we were very lucky to beat them at home earlier on this season, as you said. I thought they were equally lucky to get away with a 1-0. You were talking about it earlier on with the VAR stuff.
Yeah.
I thought they were equally as lucky to get away with that So I think we can win. I think if we can get that, switch that back on from the swagger we had back on a couple of weeks ago, get Palace and all that. But this is where Mr. Moyes earns his money, getting them up after that. And instead of telling them, hard luck, lads, you were beaten by a better team, he should be turning around and going, yeah, you did not do yourselves justice there. And, you know, you've got to believe in yourselves, because I don't think, you know, when you look at that, I didn't see anybody out there today thinking that they were going to win that game. And, you know, so you've got to sort of say, look, they are reality check. If you switch off, if you go in inferiority complex, you're going to get beat 3-1 by a team who, yeah, for all the money, aren't going to win it this year.
Okay. Okay. Well, there it is. As I said, we're all slightly disappointed. Well, no, we're not slightly disappointed. We're hugely disappointed because West Ham have lost. And none of us like watching West Ham lose, especially to Liverpool. But credit where it's due, Jurgen Klopp's side doing a number on the Hammers out there today, winning 3-1 at the London Olympic Stadium. All the goals coming in the second half. Liverpool's goals coming in the 57th. The 68th and the 84th minute, West Ham grabbing a late consolation through the prolific Craig Dawson with his third goal for the Hammers since moving to the club. It must put him up there with one of the best goals to games ratios at the club this season, I would imagine. But anyway, we will be back with you on Wednesday night, as Gnome says. It's West Ham United against Aston Villa. We're hoping to see a bit more. Gnome called it swagger. Let's have a bit of that West Ham swagger back. Come on, you Irons. A bit of that belief that we've had in the last few weeks wasn't there today, but, you know, you can't win them all. So we move on. We march on. A blip for West Ham, hopefully, and it's to Birmingham, to Aston specifically on Wednesday nights, and hoping for a Hammers bounce back. Until then, my thanks to Rio, to the Pink Palermo, and to Gnome for their company this afternoon. And of course, to all of you on the live stream. We're off to the KUMB.com match thread to see what everyone's been saying about this afternoon's game. Until Wednesday, it's goodbye from us. We'll see you all again very, very soon.